Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into your Friday. It is June 20th, and hope you're having a great day. Guy had said on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986, he had said, you haven't mentioned Whoopi Goldberg today. Well, apparently he missed the entire segment that I did yesterday on the incredibly ignorant remarks of Whoopi Goldberg, but I believe that we did podcast that segment. If you want to hear that, then you can go find the podcast. But I will tell you this, that as ignorant as Whoopi Goldberg sounded, talking about how, black people and their lives here in America in 2025 is just as bad, if not worse, than what is going on in Iran. Just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So if you want to go find that, you can. It is at 997WTN.com. Jasmine Crockett was on The View yesterday, and whoo boy. Let's just go down some of these quotes really quickly, because I love that Caroline Levitt says that Jasmine Crockett, she's actually a rising star for the Republican Party. And I see what she's saying, because Jasmine Crockett goes out and she called Trump supporters sick and mentally ill. Yeah, she did. Listen.
This idea that we don't care how many people get hurt, we don't care how we prostitute our service members, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really sick. And anybody that supports it is also sick.
So Trump supporters, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, we're sick and we're mentally ill because somehow she believes that we have this little army just for us. Prostitute our service members is what she said. I'm not even sure where she's going with all of this, but memo to Jasmine Crockett. Military recruitment is up, and I mean way up, under Donald Trump. 12.5% increase overall. The Army is 4 months ahead of schedule. The Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, they have all increased their targets for recruitment because the numbers are going up under Donald Trump. You know why Donald Trump is doing so well with the military? It's because he appreciates the military, unlike you, Jasmine Crockett. I mean, we saw that last weekend. Donald Trump has an entire day dedicated to the birthday of the Army. And what do you folks decide to do? What did Democrats decide to do? You Democrats in Nashville and in all across the country, you decided to distract from Donald Trump's great message by coming out with a No Kings protest, which, by the way, did absolutely nothing but make you all look dumb.
And so, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period. This is not partisan for me. Like, I would give anything to have, sad to say, George Bush. Give me any regular Republican nowadays and I would be happy. But right now we have someone who does not care, and he is being enabled by the fact that there are, people that follow him and they pump him up.
Wow.
As well as the people that are surrounding him.
Isn't that amazing that Jasmine Crockett, do you know what I almost called Jasmine Crockett just now? Jasmine Crockett.
Dan.
Jasmine Crockett.
I was thinking the same thing.
Were you thinking the same thing, Jay?
Absolutely, I was.
I'm telling you, what a crock of crap.
Yeah, Crock, yeah.
That's
and
much
I'm
better.
sure
Jasmine Crockett crap.
many listeners are nodding their heads right now in their vehicles or wherever they may be.
Jasmine Crock of crap. Can we put that on a hashtag, make it work?
Ooh.
Anyway.
Get a sponsor for it?
Sure. Jasmine Crock of crap. Anyway.
Safe House would.
Ironic, though, that she's talking about the people around Donald Trump, right? And the people around Donald Trump propping him up. Really? You know what happened with Joe Biden, right? Jasmine Crock of crap? You know what happened with Biden, where he literally had people actually, yes, propping him up. They used AutoPen for everything that he signed. They were clearly making decisions for the president who was clearly not fit for office. Yet she says that Donald Trump has people around him that are propping him up. Got it.
My heart breaks for service members, people that signed up to protect democracy and freedom, not only here, but abroad, and were willing to risk their lives. And now, literally, the very thing that they signed up to fight against is now their commander-in-chief.
Sorry, lady. But if George Bush were in office today, we would probably already have those service members fighting in Iran. I think that we would. If George Bush were in office today, those service members that she pretends to revere, that she pretends to love, that she pretends to appreciate, if Bush were in office today, we would already be fighting in Iran. Planes in the air and all that. So I love and appreciate, frankly, the care that Donald Trump is taking with all of this, taking 2 weeks. And it is kind of funny. Have you noticed this? So she spends the last 2 minutes calling Donald Trump and his supporters mentally ill, and then she calls for all of us to come together.
It really breaks my heart, and I don't know how far he has to go before we can come together and just say, enough is enough.
Yeah, we're all going to come together after you just called us all sick and mentally ill. Jasmine Crock of crap. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about what she said, and I do love what she said, what Caroline Leavitt said. Listen to this. She says that Jasmine Crockett is a rising star for the Republicans.
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up, outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime and she can see it for herself.
There you go. And she's absolutely right. Caroline Leavitt, she's right. Now, there is also other examples of Jasmine Crock of crap, where she was asked if she saw any mental acuity issues with Joe Biden. I've got that audio for you coming up next. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you. 7:15. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather for this weekend and for today, high of 90, partly cloudy. By the way, I did hit some of that fog this morning coming in from Mount Juliet. Saturday, a high of 94, mostly sunny. And on Sunday, high of 95 and isolated thunderstorms. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Question: did you ever see any issues with Joe Biden? Jasmine Crockett lying to the American people. Listen.
I never saw anything in Joe Biden that made me wonder whatsoever. And it's not that I was with Joe Biden every single day, that's for sure.
Did you ever watch the news, Jasmine Crock of crap? Did you ever see the clips on social media, Jasmine Crock of crap?
But I will tell you that I will take a broken, or however they want to describe Joe Biden, over Donald Trump any given day. Because number one, I know Joe Biden's heart. And I can tell you that when you look at the legislation that he was able to push forward with, this wasn't legislation that was about him and his rich friends. It was legislation that was for the good of the American people. And when you look at the people that he surrounded himself with, even if you're saying that there was a mentally deficient Joe Biden, I know that he absolutely had a mental acuity that is supreme when it comes to comparing him to Donald Trump, because at least he kept good people around him. He kept people that would keep us safe in this country.
So clearly she's lying. Obviously she's lying. Obviously she's gaslighting. You know what I wonder, though? As we approach the midterms next year, because let's be honest, we have had book after book after book and article after article and article written on the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental acuity. It is now a known fact that there was a cover-up, because there was. And we've been talking about this for years. So, as we approach the midterms next year, do you know what I wonder? Will the media start playing this game, and they should, with the Democrats? Remember when the Democrats used to hammer, right? They would hammer. The media would do this too. January 6th. And they would always ask new candidates or candidates up for re-election, whatever, that were Republican, was the 2020 election stolen and all of that? Remember that? And for the media, it became like a litmus test, if you will, as to whether or not you were an acceptable Republican. If you said, no, the election was not stolen, then you were considered among the media as an acceptable Republican. On the left, you were considered an acceptable Republican. But if you said, yes, the election was stolen, then you were not an acceptable Republican. You were a conspiracy theorist and all of that. So here is my question for the media. Open question. Given that we know, because you all have now reported, trying to clear your conscience and find some credibility again, will you in the media start asking people like Jasmine, Crock of Crap, and all these other people who were up for re-election, was Joe Biden fit for office? And if you say yes, then you should get your butts handed to you in the midterm elections, because you continue to lie to the American people. You continue to gaslight the American people. And the media should pound this heading into the midterm elections. Will they? No, because the media is culpable as well in the greatest cover-up in political history. So yeah, that litmus test for the Democrats should now be, was Joe Biden fit for office? Here's more.
He kept people that would make sure that even as tensions were rising all around the world, that we were keeping those tempered. He was able to understand, with his level of mental acuity, who our friends were. He was not getting us into unwarranted tariff wars and things like that. So even...
Wait. So one of the things that she says is that Joe Biden didn't get us into any unwanted tariff wars. Would you like to talk about him getting us involved in Ukraine and that whole train wreck? And I don't mean to, regurgitate the same monologue, but just humor me for 60 seconds. Joe Biden and his weakness did get us involved in Ukraine and Russia because of the failed pullout of Afghanistan, right? Not only the failed pullout of Afghanistan, but also the very weak sanctions against Russia. So if you want to talk about, Joe Biden and these unwanted tariff wars, okay, whatever, but let's talk about the unwanted involvement with Ukraine and Russia.
Us into unwarranted tariff wars and things like that. So even if we want to say, which I refuse to accept, that Joe Biden was mentally deficient, let me tell you something. His mental deficiency is still 1,000 times better than what we currently have.
Do you know what I love about this too? Because this was my morning, right? I'm watching Jasmine Crock of Crap, and she's on with, Whoopi Goldberg and all of these other cackling hens on The View. They are sitting there, and it is like rapt attention. It is like they are watching, Moses with the 10 commandments, right? I mean, that's the way that they're treating her, like she's some sort of just brilliant political mind. Well, I will remind her as well that no, Joe Biden did not get us involved in any tariff wars. But under Joe Biden, we did have inflation that was up over 9%. Gas prices skyrocketed. The prices of stuff that we would buy every single day skyrocketed under Joe Biden. So you can sit here and you can yammer on and on about, the tariffs and all that kind of stuff. But here we are, 6 months into Donald Trump. Inflation has gone down, I believe, every single month since Donald Trump has taken office. Right now, you know what inflation is? After Joe Biden had it at 9-point-something%, 2.4%. After 6 months with Donald Trump, 2.4%. Did anybody at The View, anyone in the media, ask your favorite Democrat about that? They can gripe all they want about tariffs, but the reality is that we're paying a lot less for goods and services under Donald Trump. Manufacturing jobs on the rise, consumer confidence on the rise, blue collar wages, we spoke about this earlier, on the rise. So Donald Trump is doing very, very well, despite all of this predicted chaos of the tariff wars that they keep trying to convince us is happening. The reality is, I just showed you and told you a lot of things that are going really well under Donald Trump. And by the way, we have finalized deals with China and the UK.
And so, I just wish that ultimately this country would judge each of our leaders with the same measuring stick. We do not. There was a lot of pressure that was put on Joe Biden. There were a lot of criticisms that were lodged at him as well as Kamala Harris.
Well, but it was the Democrats that forced him out. It was the Democrats that forced Joe Biden out of the race in 2024. So honest to goodness, this half the time when she speaks, she really does seem like she is trying to actually help the Republican Party as opposed to the Democrat Party. And I don't know if this is, a deplorables kind of comment.
This idea that we don't care how many people get hurt. We don't care how we prostitute our service members, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really sick. And anybody that supports it is also sick.
I don't know if this rises to the level of the deplorables comment, but I think it is definitely something that we should keep handy as we head into the midterm elections, because I'll be honest with you, it is incredibly inspiring to listen to her, because it makes me feel more connected to, President Trump and everything that we've been going through